Well, hello again from the Granite State. My name is Gary, and as you're well aware, this is the Restoring Main Street podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining me. It's hasn't been too long since the last one. I'm trying to get these so I string them together a little more frequently, so that if you're going to take your time to check in and view my content, that I'm a little more regular in providing those things. So that's the goal. It is 2023, and at the beginning of a new year like this, we most of us try to refocus on things. That's kind of the goal. The beginning of a new year, if you pay attention, if you care, and I'm assuming most of you do, like I said, we use it as a stepping off point. I know I do because, I'm just as human as the rest of you. And I want to talk about something just briefly tonight that I think can be beneficial. I know it's beneficial for me as far as trying to stay on a schedule, trying to be as to the point as I possibly can be, and sometimes that can be difficult. So why don't we do this? I'd like to start the program. And there we go. Still using that fancy kind of dramatic intro until I find something else. But anyway, for right now, that'll do. So what do I want to discuss tonight? Like I said, a brevity for most of these things, podcasts, unless you have guests and those type of things, brevity for most people is king. They would rather tune in, get whatever it is that you're looking to share. Hopefully it's not too drawn out, and hopefully it's impactful. It's something that's useful. Well, how do you go about doing those things, and what should be your approach? Well, tonight's podcast is not exactly focused on anything extraordinary, I guess. But what it is focused on, what I'm choosing to look at or make note of, is the difficulty sometimes that you can have, or I'm just as human as the next person, the difficulties that I can have is trying to stay focused. So that's what the podcast is about tonight, is attempting to stay focused. And just broke my focus there. Heard the phone buzz and looked down. So, like I said, I'm just as human as all the rest of you. So, the only way I can really talk about this, I guess, to start it out is to make it personal. And for me, staying focused, especially in this atmosphere today, in the times we live in, can be kind of difficult. And the reason being because if you care about what's happening around you, whether it be with your family or on a national level, local level, within your family, your community, if you care about those things, it seems like now more than ever, you can get very overwhelmed. I can get very overwhelmed. I can get distracted. I get distracted because I get pulled in so many different directions because I think you probably feel the way that I do. I feel like we're being, like I said in the past, attacked from so many different directions. So when you care about your community, when you care about your family, when you care about the nation as a whole, it's easy in that atmosphere to get distracted because you get pulled in so many different directions. And like I said, being just as human as all the rest of you, how do you go about dealing with that? I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here, and I may just mention things to you right now that maybe you're already aware of. Maybe this particular podcast is more cathartic for me than it is for all of you. I don't know, but I'm hoping it has some value for you. The way I try to go about staying in focused, first of all, is just making a list, because honestly, all of that can be hard. And if you stop and you think about it, it can actually be simple at the same time. But like I said, I tend to get emotional about things, wrapped up in things, concerned. And then sometimes I try and cover way too many bases, or get balled up in trying to figure out what I'm going to talk to you about, because there's so many things that I could talk about. And I want to be informative. I want to be able to dig into a few things and, give you information maybe that you don't already have. At least that's my goal, is just to try to spread those things, or share those things with all of you, anybody that's willing to listen. So I guess, in the very rudimentary approach to this, the way that I would approach it is, for this program, make a list. Make a list of all the things that you're concerned about, things and topics, or things you want to get involved in because you have a concern there, and you need to find a way to go about affecting some kind of a change or making some type of an impact in those areas. If it bothers you like it does me, like I said, that's what tugs at me. That's what pulls me in so many different directions, and sometimes I lose that focus that I'm talking about tonight, trying to stay focused. Like I said, it can be overwhelming. So maybe make a list of the things that that you're concerned about, and do your best to approach them. Find ways to vent your energy and be able to check those things off, one by one. I guess what I'm talking about, I guess, is pretty logical. But again, like I said, where I fall short, I guess, is my emotions get involved. And, I may be focused on one thing one day, and then I'm listening to a podcast or something, and I hear something else all of a sudden, and then I get tugged in another direction because my concerns are raised. Because like I said, there's so many places where we're being attacked, it feels like. And it's I fully believe it's by design too, because if it can get you going in so many different directions, or if we can get all of you, each of us, fighting amongst ourselves instead of focusing on some of the things that are important, I think they achieve their goal. You're not organized. You're not focusing your energy. You're kind of all over the place. And I confess, I can be like that sometimes. So along with making a list and understanding that we're all human, and that's how things can be for us, trying to stay focused. What other ways could you possibly try and prevent that or do something about it? Well, I have an outlet that I probably should use more. Sometimes maybe I get wrapped up in talking about things that I'm concerned with, and I lose focus about taking some time and speaking to the Lord. And I know not all of you are going to identify with that, but bear with me for a minute. We're supposed to do our very best each day to get up, think about what it is that we're doing each moment of the day, trying to be considerate of those around us, trying not to be selfish or, focused on our own needs so much. And a lot of times that can still happen. We can still get focused on those things, and that's another distraction as well. But, if we try to follow biblical teachings in that we're supposed to get up and give our concerns, our troubles, the multiple issues that we're trying to deal with, giving a portion of that over to God, to Jesus Christ. And then, really giving those things to Him, taking them, lifting them up to Him, and then asking the Lord to please help me, help you, each of us, help us focus on the part of each one of those problems or issues, that we can truly control. And it gives us a way to move forward and to feel like perhaps the burden is lessened or lightened. That's what our faith and Jesus Christ talks about, is lifting up your troubles to Him and asking for His help. That's the other thing, I guess, with staying focused and staying on top of some of these things. If there's so much that seems to be concerning you these days, remember that, lifting it up to the Lord, and then, asking for help from somebody else that is like-minded, that might be able to help you with some of those other things. There's nothing wrong with that. We're supposed to share each other's issues and problems to a certain degree, or we're supposed to look out for other people and try to help them. So it's very much something that I need to daily work on. I don't know about all of you. I'm assuming, like I said, you're just as human as I am, so I'm sure you feel that way as well. And the other thing that it does is it channels, your energy in a specific direction. When you're able to do those things, make a list, bring your concerns to the Lord, not be afraid to ask for help from somebody else that could, give you a hand, and not to necessarily overburden them, but sometimes we take on an awful lot ourselves, and forget that if we take on too much, that maybe not all of it gets done. And so it's okay to ask for help. So with those things in mind, I guess that's kind of what I just wanted to share with you. Just a couple of ideas of trying to be able to stay focused, and some ways to try and deal with that. I did a Facebook Live last week, one of my Pump the Brakes segments that I do in the morning on my ride into work. I don't know if any of you caught it, that particular, part of the program when I've done that. If you don't follow, me personally, not the Restoring Main Street on Facebook, but the Gary Baribeau on Facebook, you might not see that. So I encourage you, if what I'm saying to you makes sense, if you catch one of these podcasts and, I seem to be somebody that you might like to listen to from time to time, maybe look me up on Facebook and catch one of those Pump the Brakes. But anyway, with the beginning of the new year, I wanted to give people some places and things to check out, to be able to channel your efforts so that you feel like you could make some type of an impact and become a little more focused. So with that in mind, I like to try and share a couple things with you and, well, get your feeling on them. This that you see right here, that is the Article 5 Convention of States. Convention of States is something that has a chapter in every single state in the country. What they're attempting to do is, if you pull up your pocket constitution and you look at it in Article 5, I talked about this in the last podcast, that there is a way for us as citizens to actually call a convention. And what happens at this convention is that you propose amendments to be added to the Constitution. And there's all kinds of safeguards and things that are involved in this that, make it something worthwhile to get involved in and check out. So, if you're tired of what you see in Washington, if you're worried about that, just your vote or calling representatives, whether it be at the state level or at the federal level, trying to get them to listen to what it is that your concerns are. The Article 5 Convention of States, if you would get involved, allows you to do something that can impact the federal level. So what I would encourage you, I'm going to put the links, like I always do, in the notes at the bottom of this podcast. But go check out the Article 5 Convention of States. And if you want something a little more in depth with this, go back to my last podcast. Go back to episode 21. And I did a quick podcast on that. Go check that out and see if that's something that you think you would perhaps like to get involved in. And then something else that's politically motivated. Here in the state of New Hampshire, Convention of States, it does have a New Hampshire chapter, so that's what if you fill out the information on that last page that I showed you, if you go there, you find an interest and you fill out that, somebody from the New Hampshire chapter of the Convention of States will reach out to you. This page, Rebuild New Hampshire, is a group of individuals within the state that have gotten together over the last couple of years. Part of it stemming from the COVID lockdowns, and feeling like that some of the decrees, some of the things that we or the government chose to do that New Hampshire seemed to buy into as far as ways to manage this pandemic, they took issue with some of these. And be honest with you, I mean, I did as well. Some of it I saw as infringing on my rights, my health rights, my freedom of choice. And Rebuild New Hampshire is a page in a group that's focused on attempting to get the state legislature at Concord to listen to some of our concerns, to understand that we didn't agree with everything that's gone on the last couple of years, and there are things in this state that we still don't agree with, and these people are looking to affect change. They're actually getting involved and taking action. They're not sitting on the sidelines. And so much of what I want to talk about this particular year is reminding people. I mean, I did it last year with Restoring Main Street 2022, but want to focus on it very much this year as well. And that's reminding people that if you want change, if you want to stop some of the things that you see that are destroying the principles and the things that you believe in within the legislative body, you can't sit on the sidelines anymore. You need to get involved. So this particular Rebuild New Hampshire is another group that I would suggest perhaps you take a look at. And then there's this. This is another group within the state of New Hampshire. This is We the People. And they are very much an activist group as well, looking to push back against the tyranny and some of the things that we see happening within the state, some of the things that bother each of us that are going on, whether it be in your schools or just in Concord. But this was, this was started out of a couple of people that were actually dragged out of a very public meeting last year for doing nothing, but responding to some comments that were being made during this meeting and just uttering the words "Amen." So as soon as these people were just dragged out of Concord in the particular meeting by Governor Sununu's state troopers that he happened to have at the meeting at the time, which it looked like, if you go back and look at the video, that was their intention from the beginning, that they were going to take these people out of the meeting and not allow them to participate. This particular page and this particular movement sprung out of that actual incident. So the people involved with this, with We the People, New Hampshire, are taking an active approach as well. One of the things that they just brought attention to, and you can look this up on, I believe it was an article from the Granite Gronk, or it was a couple different, or New Hampshire Journal, one of those two particular online publications. You can look this up. But there are links. One of their concerns that they focused on, and they were actually at the Winter Festival this past week, they created a prayer circle around the outside of the Capitol, and they were praying basically because part of the Winter Festival, there was a drag queen show that was offered as part of the agenda for the Winter Festival. And I don't know about you, but the idea of something that's supposed to be family orientated, in my opinion, doesn't need to have a segment in it that just sexualizes anything in front of a potential family in front of kids. One of the other concerns that We the People have brought up, and you can look this up online as well, is I believe it's a total of possibly 39 different books or material that can be found online through the New Hampshire Library that give pretty explicit language along with illustration of stuff that is sexual in nature. Some of it trans, gay, those type of things. And it's not so much this sexual preference or choice, although it all seems to be going in one direction. Like I said, either a gay or trans agenda in all of these books that our students from kindergarten through high school can have access through the digital library, and in some cases physically at the libraries in each one of their schools. It doesn't matter what the sexual preference involved in. It could be talking about, straight sex, but anything that's explicit in that nature, I don't remember being okay that kids can actually access, especially through your schools. And it's something that We the People has brought to the attention of the state, of the Education Commission, or our Department of Education here in the state, and they're making noise about it. I know that if you showed material like this to somebody, a child in public, in a public park, and somebody caught you, wasn't that long ago that, I remember that person would be, arrested for basically a lewd act or, showing sexual content to a minor. And that's about what a majority of these books and the illustrations within these books depict. I've seen pictures of them. It's very graphic. And like I said, I don't care if it's straight sex or gay sex. It's nothing that a child should be looking at. Now, I'm also not so naive to think that if the kids want to find this, they will find a way around that. But, the last place that they should find it is at their school. We shouldn't be endorsing somehow or appearing to endorse material like this for minors. So that's just one of the things that We the People is pushing back on, but they're taking, like I said, an active role and trying to bring the state back to a point of fiscal responsibility, principled responsibility as far as the conduct and just how our state legislature and the laws that are being enacted, how they're approached and how Concord goes about handling all of these things. So I show you all of that only because, like I said, staying focused. If you just understand based on what I just showed you, I think you probably get the idea that with all of that, with that's happening at a national level, the things that are happening here in the state, that there's good reason for you to get pulled in so many directions. I get pulled in so many directions because of those things. So I offered those particular websites, those particular groups that you can get involved in and maybe channel some of that energy, ability to give you an ability to stay in focus and not sit on the sidelines this year. I think it's beyond important that we all recognize that a lot of what we believe in, a lot of our liberties, a lot of the things like we held as principal pillars of our society are being attacked, and there are parties looking to try and destroy those things and break down our society so they can rebuild it in some shape that they see fit. If any of that bothers you, then perhaps you'd like to focus your energy in some of those directions. And like I said, I will have those links at the bottom of the podcast so you can take a look at that. All right. I'll be back in a second. Just wanted to share that with you too. If you're so inclined, if you would enjoy a book of poetry or know somebody that would, the North Country Chronicles, I'll put that right in front of my face so that you can look at that instead of me. Poetry and prose from the Granite State. It's a collection that I put together a year or so ago, and you can find it on Barnes & Noble. You do have to type in the entire title, the North Country Chronicles, Poetry and Prose from the Granite State in order to find it, but you can find it on Amazon. You can find it at Barnes & Noble. If you'd like to support me in that way, pick up a copy of this. If you have a poetry lover in your family, covers all kinds of different topics throughout the whole book. Hey, it's a great gift. And that is it's a picture of mine that I took of Mount Chicoro. So, it's all homegrown here from the state, so I appreciate it if you would support me in that way. Okay. So now that I've given you maybe some ideas of how to stay in focus, some avenues and things that you can get involved in and be a part of, I'd like to take care of some things that I usually do at the end of this, and that's thank some of the people that support me. Coffee News Rochester, my friend Gene Vallee has been running this page for quite some time, and if you want to find out what's going on in the local area, anything that pertains to something happening in Rochester or around Rochester, you will find most of those things posted in there. So go to Coffee News Rochester and get caught up what's going on in the community. Participate, be a part of it, and send Gene a message. Say, hey, Gary from Restoring Main Street sent me over to your page. And this is another store that used to have a spot in the Lilac Mall, but they had to move. It just made more sense for them to do so. So my friends at Metalheads or online metalheadsrock.com, they deal in rock and roll attire, cups, mugs, T-shirts, sweatshirts, any of those things. If it rocks, if it's heavy metal, you will find anything from your favorite rock band there at Metalheads. You can go check them out at Lafayette Road. They do have a place out there now. But you can also, like I said, find them online, metalheadsrock.com. And they do delve into the horror genre. So if you're a Freddy Krueger or a Jason fan or Michael Myers or any of those things, you can find a lot of T-shirts and stuff there that is associated with that particular genre of movies as well. So please check them out. Go visit my friends at Metalheads, metalheadsrock.com. And like I said, I was trying to keep it short this week. It's going on like 30 minutes, but I'm looking to get out of here now and give you back your night. But try and stay focused. Think about some of the things that I said. It, like I said, can be very difficult because we get pulled in so many directions nowadays. And if you're somebody that just doesn't blow off everything around you, if you have actual concerns about, like I said, your state, your town, the country in general, and the direction you see things going, it can be difficult sometimes to stay focused. And I hope some of these suggestions that I gave you tonight, I hope they were helpful. You can find this podcast on GabTV. You can find it on Rumble. I do post to YouTube as well. You will find me on all the social media platforms, although I haven't been as good about posting things to those, but I do have spots actually on, MeWe, Gab, regular Gab, not GabTV, but regular Gab, Getter, Instagram, Parler, and True Social, and I need to get a little bit better about posting things there. Instagram as well. If you're looking for Restoring Main Street or Restoring Main Street podcast, if you search those things, you will find me on those pieces of social media. And I would appreciate all the support that you could possibly get. If you would review, rate, subscribe to, comments, anything that you would like to share, I would certainly like to hear from you. And I would appreciate any support that you could possibly give me. Share this. If you find this, posted someplace else, and share it with a friend. That way I can grow the audience, grow the followers, and when we discuss or when I discuss content or have a guest on something that I feel that is important or worth your time, then it will reach a broader audience. So in the end, that's all I'm really looking for is if you would help me, I will certainly continue doing this to the best of my ability. And I appreciate you, and I hope you appreciate my efforts here. So in closing, as I always do, I'd like to share this with you, the idea of God, freedom, and family. Because honestly, if we lose sight of God, if we lose our freedoms, our families are truly doomed. So until next time, thanks for tuning in, and as always, God bless.